It is Monday, January 5th, all right, 2026. I'm sitting in my apartment. I have a lukewarm cup of coffee. I baked cookies this morning, and I have a very overdue interview for a independent literary magazine that I need to submit, but I am stumped about my own self, so I really want to discuss that. I really want to discuss things that inspire me and have inspired my art, other artists, pieces of art, and of course my own art. So, okay. Anyway, to get started, this is my book. It's called Something Happened Here. It's like I self-published it, you know. It's a YA book. It's a coming of age. It discusses poverty, the crime and abuse that happens to women and children in underseen, undervalued communities. It takes place in rural Nova Scotia, which is where I'm from, and I do a lot of my art on rural Nova Scotia, obviously because I grew up there. I've seen what goes on here and what other people don't. And this is an illustrated novel. It also has poetry, and I wrote it when I was younger, but it really resonates with a lot of young women and people who have been through the same thing or are going through the same thing, which is grooming and abuse by an older creepy dude who's lurking in the shadows there. Oh, this is one of my favorite illustrations from it. That's my book, and I have to answer some questions about my book, but I do have other pieces of art, and I did want to go through my website with you guys. Hold up. So, I'm just gonna put it on this side, and we're gonna put me here by Anna Mendieta. It's this artist, and she's one of my favorite artists, and I will talk about her soon. But first, I wanted to look at my website, okay? And I do have some merchandise on my website, some prints of my art and my photography, because before I was a writer, I was always a writer, but before I published my book, I published, of course, self-published. I self-published a photo book, which I would love to show. So, this obviously is my book. But this is my photo book. It's called the Patchwork Album. And I have it right here with me, actually. And again, it takes place in rural Nova Scotia. I actually did a video on it here, if I can play that. Here we go. This just takes you through the book, which I have here. And I actually, this is the actual cover of my old family photo album that was just like always being kicked around my dingy house growing up. And I just scanned it and I used it as the cover for the Patchwork Album, which is about a personal experience of growing up in like a derelict environment in rural Nova Scotia, around my parents who were very traditional, we can say. And I really want to make another photo book. And in this book, I used old family photographs that I would always look at when I was a child, and photos that I took in my last year of my photography studies at NASCAD University. And I took photos of the contemporary environment that I was in, which was a lot of derelict environments, memories, animals, and who the people became from the past. So I love this book too, and I have so many other photography projects that I had. But this was the one I made a book about for my final thesis project in art school, because I was an art school girl. So yeah, I just have like a statement on here about that. Some of the images from my book. A lot of it is just like past versus present. Well, what was the present? Now it's been like a good chunk of years. And for example, this house, no longer there. Completely bulldozed. This was my grandfather's house, my estranged grandfather. This was like the first time we ever, the first and last time we ever saw him. Oh. Anyway, yeah, there's that. This is a lovely one. And another piece I have on here is called Morning Exercise, which is a play on words, which I really love to do with my photography titles at the end of my art school career. And this is kind of inspired by a flux score or some kind of like poetic instruction that you follow to create the piece. So anybody can make this. And I just took some images from the performance because it is a performance piece, and this is what it created here. So it's just me following the score, which is by the ocean. Lay face down in the sand, your body closest to the ground. Rise up, feel your body's strength. Fall back into the ground, repeat as desired. It's just a creation that is supposed to sap you of your emotions that possess you. This was created in 2020 or 2021, and obviously I really love the images that it ended up with. This is another piece I created called Regrowth. Another play on words. I was so like, okay. Oh my god. Anyway, so this was inspired by Victorian mourning jewelry, and it was just a thrifted silver piece locket and my own hair, which I had cut, and I tried to put it back on, and I left it there. I left it in a drawer for a couple years, and then I found it again, tried to put it back on after my hair grew a little. And yes, this has a deeper meaning. I don't really feel like talking about it though, so I'm just gonna move along. And I want to show you some of my other, well, this is just a little bit about the book. The formatting on this website needs some help. This is just some skins of some of the illustrations inside. And then I would love to show you some of my little shops little poster. By the way, no one has bought any of this stuff. I think maybe like 2 people, and I never saw it. But I will be updating this stuff and making some more prints and some illustration prints, painting prints. More art is coming. This just a photography print, Grandpa's house, highway house. This one's also bulldozed now. The Have house, lost sweater inside the house, my spare room. Oh man. Yeah, so those are some of my fave prints on here, and I just wanted to show you some of my most inspired artists. This is a photographer. Her name is Alessandra Sanguinetti. She is American, but she does a lot of work, or did a lot of work based in Argentina, and my favorite one, hold on, is right behind me. I'm back. I love this. This is the adventures of Guiche and Belinda and the enigmatic meaning of their dreams. Oh my god, I fell in love with this so much. And this is only one of the books. There's another one, which is, God, how do I forget the name of that one? It's just when they're a bit older. And allegedly it is like a lifetime work, so she should still be working on it. And this one is just, it's so magical. I can look at some of them on here. And I also bought a full print of my favorite image, which is hanging on my wall, which I can show you that, but I'll just show it to you on here. Her images, they take me back to my own childhood in rural Nova Scotia. Spending time with my best friend at the time, who I was kind of like taken from, unfortunately. And just the innocence of childhood, the self-fulfilling prophecies, of girls and what they imagine being a woman to be like, the fantasies of that, the excitement, the beauty, the mystery, the fear. Here's one I love. So I obviously took very large inspiration from Sanguinetti's photography and book work. While talking about photo books and the passage of time and relationships, childhood, I want to talk about Margot Wallard. I love her photo journals, and the next art book I buy I would love for it to be one of her books. So I absolutely love her work so much. Let's see. This journal, my brother Gushame and Sonia, it's absolutely beautiful, and whenever I think about it, I just get emotional. It's about her own brother and his partner and their alcoholism, and in a way it is about grief because they did pass away, and it's about love, and it's absolutely beautiful. And this is a work she did after his passing, and it's about obviously the ephemeral effect of life, death, and it's called Naden, which I believe means night, and she took these in winter. I love this so much. I really love these images. I believe it's herself, her nudes, and I just love the way she's captured the bodies of these animals also, and herself as being this figure that's kind of like fading into the environment. And you know what? That's how I picture death and life. Our energy is just, it's connected to this environment, this world, and we are this world, and this is so beautiful, and I love her work so much. All-time favorite artist is Ana Mendieta, and I'm also reading a book right now inspired by her. Ana Mendieta does earth body work, which I was inspired by in art school. I did do some very loosely inspired work in the earth. Obviously nowhere near as ambitious or gorgeous. So I'm looking for like some good images here. Here's some images. Obviously this one here is one of my all-time favorites, and her Silhouette series is the most beautiful series. It evokes that feeling of homesickness and heartache and wanting to be part of the earth. Missing home is just so beautiful. My dream. Okay, I ordered her recent exhibition book, and it should be coming this month, hopefully, or it's being shipped this month. And One of my dreams is to see her work in person, or obviously like images of her work in person or real prints. Here's some images. Another artist I will talk about, we went to the same art school, so this is Tanya Tagak, and she is a Inuit artist, as well as a musician, and she is a Inuit throat singer. She has a lot of really successful music, but I also really love her book called Split Tooth. I can't believe it, but this was let go from the Toronto Public Library, and guess what? Now it's mine. This is my book now. Totally fell in love with the way that she intertwined poetry, memoir, story together, and illustrations. And this is probably my biggest literary inspiration for my own book, just based on the way that this is a coming of age story that has really difficult themes, really real themes about poverty, and in this case colonization and systematic racism and abuse, child abuse. Yeah, these are artists that I love, man. And I had some for my questions that I've been given about my work. I had some questions about music, and the music that they asked me about is Alice in Chains, which seems so like out of whack, but obviously it's not, because I've written about Alice in Chains. I've taken so much inspiration from Alice in Chains. And I know it sounds so random, but it's really deeply entwined in my life, so much so that whenever I hear Alice in Chains, I feel my soul. When I was a child, I was always in the backseat of my mom's car that was going way too fast and being driven way too angrily and passionately, and Alice in Chains was always playing, and it was most of the time the live MTV Live album. So I just have applause and cheering and their voices in my head ever since I was about 6 years old. And those lyrics would sit so deeply with me at such a young age, when I was surrounded by poverty and abandoned houses, living in a decrepit house that was torn apart in the dirt. I was so surrounded by this dirt motif in my life. And the Dirt album, there it is. And I was born in 1999, so the 90s music was part of me. My parents were big 90s music fans. They loved grunge. They were always listening to grunge music, and that is why so much of my both books that I made, they do have a few, I'm forgetting my words. They mention Alice in Chains, essentially.